Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, a spotlight on OUTtv's LGBT Dramedy, Sugar Highs, a show that features three roommates who can't make their rent, so they set out to find some sugar daddies to pay their bills. Plus the latest evicted house guest from Big Brother Canada Season 12. All that and more on episode 401, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Harder, porn star, burlesque performer, and the creator of Porn to Be a Star. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada and Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as a #1 Canadian LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, I'm joined by the three lead actors from OUTtv's LGBT Dramedy, Sugar Highs: Joey Benny, Adam Fox, and Sam Davidson. We'll find out just what this show, Sugar Highs, is all about, what we can expect in Season 2, and more. Plus in Hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house, and on this episode I'm featuring some classic funk, some queer jazz, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 401 through Rainbow Country. First up, the Rainbow Country Bookstore. Today, award-winning writer Paige Maylott reads from her memoir, My Body is Distant, a book that tells the author's trans journey to self-realization. By the way, on Amazon.ca, My Body is Distant has a rating of 5 out of 5 stars.
Memory is a slippery and selective thing. To provide an example, think back to your earliest memory. One of mine was a hot summer day in 1979. I would have been 4 years old and my sister Lana only 2. The memory begins with us running barefoot across cool, shaded grass behind the turn-of-the-century schoolhouse our father skillfully converted into our childhood home. As I ran and Lana chased after me, grasshoppers sprang from the grass, cicadas screeched in the trees, and the neighbors' cows grazed in fields on the other side of the electrified fences which surrounded our property. Already, I have fabricated details to draw you into my story. While I know there were often cows in the fields which surrounded our house, and that cicadas often screeched in the trees, I don't remember how warm it really was. And I can't recall whether cicadas were out or if there were cows nearby that day. I have only included these pseudo-facts to pave the way to a moment that stuck with and still shapes who I am some 40-something years later. I remember we found ourselves in the sun-warmed, wood-scented back shed where we discovered my father's tackle box. We pried open squeaky metal clasps, and inside we found the most incredible fishing lures. To our inexperienced eyes, they looked uncannily like actual fish, with shining scales drawn with metallic paints and gleaming bright eyes. Some were hinged in the middle to mimic realistic swimming, I assume. Lana grabbed as many fish as she could, somehow avoiding hooking herself. She looked up at me, her body vibrating with excitement as she said, "Let's see them swim." I agreed and gathered the rest. We ran out of the shed and across the lawn holding handfuls of jingling fish. I followed Lana to a deep circular pond ringed with flagstones, which my father had dug in the middle of our yard. Lana wasted no time as she climbed the stones and threw her handfuls into the water. When they struck the surface, years of dust splashed away, and the lures came to life. The tiny fishes twisted and flipped just below the surface. Their chromatic scales flashed in a dizzying rainbow of colors before they sank. Each twinkled in the sunlight one last time, as if giving thanks, before they disappeared into the murky depths of the pond. "Did you see that?" Lana asked. "Throw yours." I recognized the potential consequences of tossing away my father's prized fishing lures, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to see those colors. I needed to see if they truly could come to life again. I tossed mine, alone and in twos, at Lana's impatient urgings. We watched with amazement as they rolled and flashed in the murky water as they sank, leaving us with vivid memories and regret. For me, memory is a lot like my fish story. I only seem to remember moments which particularly delight or trouble me, and sometimes the ones that flash brightest are the ones that do both. I like to think my brightest memories are also the ones which have taught me valuable lessons, like how throwing away antique heirloom fishing lures can make your father cry. This memoir is, therefore, imperfect. It will contain details as true as I can remember them, and I'm certain some recollections will be incorrect or incomplete. All I can promise is that the memories in these pages are, to the best of my knowledge, influential moments of my life which have shaped me into the woman I am today. I hope you graciously accept that possibility as I recall these stories with you. By reading them, you can cause these memories to flash and sparkle once more. While not every recollection in this memoir shines, I believe it is important to include the difficult parts and the ones that beacon on regrettable decisions. Because if we don't record these multicolored memories as accurately as possible, they might sink into the darkness and be lost forever. 2010. Another 11 years later, in an abandoned amusement park. Emerging from a cloud of rose-scented mist, Callie's face is lit electric pink as we pass a buzzing neon heart on the tunnel's rocky wall. We float together in a giant rubber duck that pulls us along a submerged track toward an expanding arch of light. As we pass through the cave's mouth, sunlight gleams off the duck's droplet-sprinkled plastic wings, and the sequined lining of my bridal gown reflects shimmering rainbows across the water's surface. Callie caresses my ears. "What did you think?" "Best honeymoon ever," I say. "We're only getting started." A sly smirk hints at the corner of Callie's mouth as he pulls me close. I rest my cheek against his suit-covered chest, allowing myself to melt into the relaxing vibration of his affectionate purring. Being here, having him holding me, Sharing this moment together in an actual tunnel of love with my husband has made all the fuss of the past 2 weeks of wedding mayhem worthwhile. This does truly feel perfect, even though I know that none of this is real. Not in the way most people value realness. I know this amusement park we're in, this plastic duck boat, and even our avatars are just lines of code stored on a softly humming server somewhere. Despite that, I feel an authentic bond with Callie, which is no less valid than the intimacy and trust that accompanies sharing your bed and life with someone in the real world. In loving relationships, we seek reassurances that our partner cares for us. Grand romantic gestures may be beautiful and sweep you off your feet, but they're easily staged. We communicate true love through a multitude of selfless moments. Love appears as an unprompted cup of tea, just the way you like it on a tough day. Or when you fawn over a beautiful sweater and a week later, it appears on the dining room table, even when it's not your birthday. Genuine gestures of love can even appear in an act as simple as being cuddled as the little spoon while you drift off to sleep. Despite what you might think, these gestures can mean more online. Callie's wedding suit is an excellent example. If he and I married in real life, he might buy or rent a suit. A tailor then measures and makes alterations, but all Callie has done is point and pay and pick it up when he's ready. Here, Callie inevitably tried on multiple suits from multiple online vendors, still spent real money to buy it, but then he also sank hours in an editor, carefully tweaking the suit's proportions to accommodate his unique furry body. It took me 3 days to find and fit a bridal dress that showed my tail and then edit a veil so that it didn't cut off my ears. Callie proposed with an emerald ring. While he likely didn't spend too much to buy it, he took the time to learn I preferred emeralds to diamonds. Communication and attention to detail mattered just as much here. He also scouted this abandoned amusement park for us to be alone. Thoughtful kindnesses like these are more than I've ever experienced in a real-life relationship. In some ways, online relationships better illustrate commitment and desire. In real life, you and I might walk together. Your hand might bump mine, and we might like the feeling of accidental touch enough to hold hands. It could be sweet, but there's a casualness to this act that cannot occur online. In virtual worlds, we might similarly walk together, but you would intentionally position your character closer to mine, target me, and initiate a command like, /hold hands with Lydia. While stepping out of a romantic moment to type may sound detached, if my online partner values the time required to specifically write an affectionate gesture just because they want to build a connection, doesn't that add something? Describing a character's intention is not only precise and deliberate, but every descriptive pose my partner writes is only for me, for us, to create our memorable moment. Whether we're holding hands or fighting or fucking, we craft line after line of descriptive prose, a conscious, poetic rededication to the value of our relationship. So, yes, I know that our relationship, our marriage, and this moment are not real in the way society might define it. But for a lonely and sick trans woman, they are everything. Besides, don't scientists say reality as we understand it might be lines of code anyway?
When I return, the most recent evicted house guest from Big Brother Canada Season 12.
Hi, I'm Keegan Hurst, former professional rugby player, coach, raving homosexual, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
House guests, I have the results. By a vote of 4-3, Elijah, you are safe. Matthew, I'm so sorry. You've been evicted from the Big Brother Canada house. Please get your things and say your goodbyes.
Thanks, bro. You're my brother for life. I love you, brother. Sorry. It's okay. I love you, don't worry. I know.
Matthew, hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Obviously adjusting, being back to reality, but just happy to wake up today and just happy that I had the opportunity to experience being a part of Big Brother.
Matthew, that vote, 4-3. Did that vote surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me when it came down to eviction day. I knew I was in tough. I did everything I could and campaigned all the way to the end. But people were straight up with me and told me that whether they would be voting for me or not. So it was definitely an emotional day that day. I wear my heart on the sleeve and I'm not good at goodbyes. So some tears did pop up that day. I just have real love for a lot of people in that house, but it wasn't a surprise. When it came to eviction time, I knew I was going home.
Did you find it challenging campaigning to save your Big Brother Canada game? Was it challenging for you?
There were aspects of it that were challenging. Obviously, I had to tell people what they wanted to hear at this point. I was on death row and I had to do whatever I could to make it happen and try to stay one more week. I think it's pretty obvious I'm a loyal and truthful guy. So having to lie through my teeth after those conversations, they were really tough. And I remember just talking to myself saying, that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. I'm just a very upfront and honest person, and lying isn't something I'm used to. So campaigning was slightly challenging in that fact.
Do you think that there was anything more you could have done to save your game?
In the early stages of the game and in previous weeks, I could have built better one-on-one game relationships with Avery, Spice, and even Bailey, just to try to have a better chance to really switch the vote and get that fourth vote to secure my spot. However, that week when I was on the block, I gave it everything I had. I campaigned hard. I even had to go against my morals slightly and tell the girls what they wanted to hear. I do feel that if I really knew about the alliance of Spicy, Kayla, Avery, Dougie, and Lexus, that maybe I could have dropped that information to Bailey and then to Todd and maybe got the fourth and fifth vote just to show them that they were on the outside looking in right now. However, just knowing myself, I probably wouldn't have wanted to jeopardize Dougie's and Lexus's game. So that would have been hard for me as well. But I would have done whatever it took to try to stay. So I definitely wish I had known that information, but it is what it is. I'm just blessed to be a part of the cast, and I'm just blessed to have that experience and opportunity.
What's that? You were close to Lexus in the game, a showmance. Do you think that your relationship with Lexus, do you think that ultimately hurt your game?
I think it is one of the reasons I was probably targeted and sent home. I believe my relationship with Lexus and Anthony, that the other three members in their alliance saw was too strong, and that when it came down to later stages in the game, I truly believe Lexus and Dougie both would have chose me over anyone in that alliance and possibly in the house. I know Dougie's a really loyal guy, and he told me he had me from early on in the game, and I believe the feelings between Lexus and I were real, and she would have chose me over them as well, even though she may have been telling them otherwise.
Matthew, let's go back in time. You find out that you're going to be on Big Brother Canada season 12. Do you have a strategy going into the game?
Going into Big Brother, I definitely wanted to align myself with people that I thought were strong competitors, and that not just physically strong, but mentally and emotionally, and that could do well in all types of challenges. It's a lot easier when you're thinking about what you're going to do from the outside. I'm a very straight up and true to myself type of guy. So when I came into the house, it was a lot harder for me to spend time with people and create game relationships with people that I just didn't really relate to or that we didn't have the same values. So I really tried to be with people that I felt I could trust and be loyal to.
Who would you say was your number one in the game?
My number one in the game was definitely Dougie. From the beginning, I told him I had it and I truly meant it. And when he said he had me, I truly believe it. I think, obviously, I had a very, very strong relationship with Lexus and a little bit of a different relationship with Lexus than I do with Dougie. However, I gave Dougie my word from the very beginning that I would take him all the way and as far as I could, and I wouldn't go against him. And I'm a man of my word, so I would have stayed true to that. And I would have just had to break the hard news to Lexus. It would have been a really emotionally tough decision for me. So I guess if we're trying to look at the positives, at least I didn't have to get to that heartbreaking decision.
Matthew, your time in this game, in this experience, what would you say that your biggest move was in the Big Brother Canada game?
To be honest, this is probably one of the harder questions. I'm not too sure if I had a super big move. I honestly, through most of the competitions, if not all, the only one I can truly say I gave it my all in was the Steal the Spotlight competition. I felt like that one was more of a random chance sort of competition that anyone could win. So I didn't feel like I was showing off my physical or intellectual skill set. Obviously, being one of the more physically fit people in the house, I feel like I walked in with a target right on my back from day one. Everyone saw me as a physical threat. So I was trying to keep my challenge and competition skills under the radar for as long as I could. I felt really safe with Avery. So after she pulled off that 36, I felt like I didn't necessarily need to win that HOH competition. However, it did come back to bite me.
Ultimately, are you happy with the game that you played?
For sure, I'm happy with the game that I played. I stayed true to my character. I stayed true to my word, and I just demonstrated my core values and morals. That's something my family and myself can be proud of. Money comes and goes, but the impact you leave on people and how you are remembered, that's forever.
Matthew, was playing Big Brother harder than you thought it would be?
Yeah, it was definitely harder than I thought it would be. I thought I would be able to be more of a game player and be manipulative, say what I needed to say to get people to trust me. But when I came down to it, I just couldn't bend my character. I'm true to my word. I'm honest and I'm loyal. So I chose the people that I trusted, and I was riding with those handful till the end. This kind of kept me from creating more game relationships with other people in the house, individually and in alliances. However, it's really hard for me to tell you I got you when I don't really got you like that. So I chose to ride out with the people that I felt had me and that I would be loyal to. So it was definitely harder than you think it is, just having to be in game mode 24/7 as well.
Matthew, here's my last question for you. Best part about being part of Big Brother Canada Season 12?
I think the best part is just the experience and meeting everyone. At this point in my life, I'm really close with my day ones and my family, so I never thought that I would be able to meet so many great people, have so many new friends that are going to be lifelong friends. And I really believe there's about 3 relationships in that house that these people are going to be a huge part of my life for the rest of my life. I have them whenever they need me, and I know if I truly called on them, they would have me too. So that was a blessing. It was also just a blessing to be there, to step outside of my comfort zone and to grow as an individual. I feel like I came out as a better man, and that's all I can ask for.
Matthew, well said, well done, well played. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Big Brother Canada Season 12 airs on Global TV, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. For more information, simply visit bigbrothercanada.ca. When I return, Sugar Highs.
Hi there, I'm Bennett Singer, a documentary filmmaker and the co-director of the new film Cured. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
This is gay hip-hop artist, the Mangfather Bob Katz. An artist friend of mine recommended that I check out Mark Tara's Rainbow Country years ago, and I've been enjoying it ever since. Mark's excellent interviews highlight all aspects of the LGBTQ community, and he's not afraid to ask the difficult questions that other hosts avoid. And I love, love, love the music that Mark plays on Rainbow Country each week, especially when he plays my music. But seriously, Mark Tara has been such a supporter of my music and has turned me on to so many great LGBTQ artists that I'd never heard of before. I'm so grateful to Mark Tara's Rainbow Country.
I'm Brian Bradley, author of Outrageous Misfits, female impersonator Craig Russell and his wife, Lori Russellidi. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Joey Benny, hi, how are you?
Good.
Adam Fox, hello.
Hello.
Sam Davidson, bonjour, comment ça va?
Hello.
Hey, you gotta change it up, you know? I have to, okay, first of all, I have to say...
I'm the one that speaks French.
I failed French in junior high, which was the last time I did it, so...
I think we can all say we understand hello, bonjour, at
Bonjour.
least.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment ça va?
I have to...
Hola.
Hola. I have to say to all of you, thank you so much for being here, to have your voices, your stories be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about a new gay TV show. Not necessarily that new, but maybe new to some. Now in its second season, Sugar Highs. Season 2 is out. Sam Davidson, I want to start with yourself and Sugar Highs. Talk to me about the show, and from your perspective, what is the show about?
So it's about 3 roommates who are having a lot of trouble keeping up with rent, and with Bud as the leader, they decide to seek out sugar daddies as an alternative way to make some money. And some hijinks is some activities are spawn.
And you play Mickey.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your character Mickey and what is Mickey all about?
So Mickey is working under the table in the States. He's there illegally from Canada. He's from Nova Scotia, which is also where I'm from. And he at the top of season 1, he's sort of more anxious. He's more judgmental towards that type of stuff, and he kind of goes through a little bit of a moral dilemma. And then as the season progresses, he sort of warms up to the idea, and by the time season 2 rolls around, he's had a lot of character development and has a different attitude towards it.
So Adam, for yourself, how did you hear about Sugar Highs?
Well, like a lot of actors, we get auditions fairly often, and this one came through a while ago now. It feels weird to think of how long ago it was. It was August 2021 for season 1. But yeah, I read it. My first thought was based on the title that it had something to do with the high school. And then when I read the description, I was like, oh, wow, that's what this is. And I got really excited just because I've always been really interested in this subject matter.
You've always been interested in the subject matter of what, sugar daddies and sugar babies?
Yeah, well, actually, before I ever wanted
and how
to
can
be
I
an
get
actor,
me one?
Pardon?
And how can I get me one?
Well, it's just interesting. Like, I think when I was in high school, I saw this movie from a Canadian director called Chloe by Adam Agoyan. And it's about a high-class escort that gets enmeshed in this dysfunctional family in Toronto, actually. And I don't know, there's just something about that, like, I mean, that's obviously a lot darker of a tone in Sugar Highs, but something just about, like, what happens behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see as much in normative society that I found really intriguing about that whole world of sugar babying and then, of course, sex work.
Adam, you play Bud. Talk to me about Bud and what makes Bud tick.
A lot of things. I wouldn't describe Bud as the most patient. So there's a lot of things that make him tick. He's quite driven in terms of like what his needs are, and I think he holds a lot of like responsibility to keep us all afloat, him and his roomies slash basically family, right? So he's quite driven by need. So anytime there's any sort of setback financially from one of Mickey or Tab, he also doesn't like not getting his way. He doesn't like not winning. But I think the comedy comes from the fact that he often doesn't get his way and he often doesn't win. So as much as he's really driven by that, it makes it almost endearing because he's so driven and so steadfast, but is often not getting what he wants.
Joey, for yourself, Joey, what drew you to want to be part of Sugar Highs?
Well, I think as most actors, you're always trying to search for the next job, and it's very lucky when a project resonates with you, and you just feel like you always want to do a good job and book the part, but I mean, I'm just to speak for myself. Every once in a while, there's one or two where you're like, oh, I really want that one. I think it'd be really fun. And I thought from reading it, I was like, Tab is really like made me laugh out loud. The other characters, like when I was reading it, I was like, this is funny. I think this is gonna be a good project. And and Tab is just kind of like, it's easy to say he's dumb, but I just say like he just doesn't know a lot of stuff. And I remember when my mom watched it, she's like, it feels like you're just playing yourself. So I think that has a little bit, I think you need to like not be so dumb then.
Well, Joey, you just mentioned Tab. You play the character of Tab.
Yes.
Talk to me a bit more, because he's what? He works out. He has blonde hair, I guess?
He does, and I definitely don't.
So talk to me a bit more about this character.
Yeah, so Tab is kind of like, he works out, he likes to skateboard. I think of the three characters, his life experience up until now has been pretty much like, people are really nice. Life's pretty easy. Everything always works out, but everything always works out for him. And he doesn't realize that life is easy because he works out and because people find him attractive. But that's what's so good about season 2 and with Tom's writing is that he's finding things out for the first time, and it's very interesting to watch.
So this next question will be for all of you. And so Sugar Highs essentially tells queer stories, LGBT stories. I'm assuming that you're all part of the LGBT community. You're definitely all actors, all creatives. Things are obviously getting better for us that are part of the LGBT community. But things, while they are getting better, they're still challenging. So talk to me about, some of the challenges maybe you guys have faced being part of the community and trying to get roles and getting roles that you felt comfortable playing. And Joey, for yourself, let's start with yourself. Has it been challenging for you to find roles, for you to feel comfortable playing, being part of the LGBT community?
Well, I don't. I think any sort of subgroup or not super mainstream group or minority group, it's always a struggle to get those stories told. But I think at the end of the day, it's a human story. It's a human journey. And whether you live in a different country and it's a culture that you don't know of, everyone could relate to a human struggle and a human story. And when you watch it and bring that humanity to it, it opens the door for a lot of people to understand communities that they're not too familiar with.
Adam, for yourself, has it been challenging for you to find roles, to tell stories that you felt comfortable doing, being part of the LGBT community? Like maybe you wanting to find those roles to tell, and it's challenging to find them. Adam, how has that journey been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't speak for the whole community. I can speak for myself. I think that I feel I can do any role A to Z. And I think that I felt earlier in my career that like there's a bit of a double standard when it came to like a queer person playing a hetero role versus the inverse. It felt kind of like if you were queer trying to play a straight role and they were watching your tape, it'd be like, oh, well, at 2 minutes, 30 seconds, he did this weird thing with his
he seems
lips,
kind of
so
gay.
we don't believe. Yeah, exactly. Whereas the inverse, it's like, oh, well, yeah, he's gay because it says on the paper that he's gay. So it felt kind of, that could be a bit frustrating. But I think one nice thing, and why I'm glad I'm still in the industry now at this point, is where like that is changing, and it's changing not just because of other great LGBTQ performers, but also, any male identifying performer that moves the needle of what it is to be a leading male or what it is to be a male in general. So whether that's, an obvious one like Timothée Chalamet, who brings more softness and vulnerability. And then, of course, a lot of great queer actors like, Matt Bomer's an obvious one. Jonathan Bailey, I just watched Fellow Travelers. They're just telling these
Such
stories.
A great show.
And it was amazing. And being invested in it. And I think it's quite tricky kind of navigating the industry and whether you want to be out or not, kind of like finding your way so that you don't just get typecast, because that does happen a lot also if you are open about it. So I totally understand any approach. But yeah, I think it's been nice for me to embrace it the last few years. And one thing I love, at least in Vancouver where I am, is seeing some of the 18 to 24-year-old actors that are just like bursting out of high school, fully who they are, and seeing it benefit them. So it's cool.
And Sam, for yourself, how has your journey been?
I'll sideline my own experience, but I really like what Joey said about how universal the show is in terms of like the financial difficulties, and it does kind of go outside just the LGBT experience, and I think everybody knows what it's like to be broke at some point, or most people at least, and
Adam, I want to circle back to yourself. You are an actor. You are a writer. You are a director. What do you feel most comfortable doing? What aspect of the industry do you feel most comfortable in?
Definitely acting, as I have the most experience in that. However, I love writing, and I actually once had somebody tell me that I had the mind of a writer, which I thought was interesting. And I've also had people tell me that they felt like I was writing as I was talking to them, which is also interesting feedback. But yeah, I love writing. I like can be a little isolating, but I do like the kind of like solitude of it. And I do like, I love to, for example, like go somewhere and write and be in a different place and new energy and see kind of what comes out as a result of that.
So Sam, 2021's Wildhood. I had Breton Hanam on the show.
Yeah.
Great film.
Really
what was
good
that
movie.
experience like for you?
I don't think I'm in the final cut of that, but I actually really enjoyed my time working on that set. We filmed up in the valley of Nova Scotia, and I was only on for about 2 days, but it was the first time I had worked in a while, and yeah, it was really cool, and I really liked the final product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great film. It's a great film. Joey, Killer Date, 2019 award-winning short film that you co-wrote. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
My gosh.
The success of Killer Date for yourself, that must have been gratifying for you. Talk to me about that project and what it means for you, what it means to you.
Yeah, well, back then, so that was about that was 2018, and I had a session with my coach, and we were doing a scene. He's like, really good work, and I was just voicing my frustrations, and I was like, his name's Craig. I was like, Craig, I love you, but I'm it's so hard to just be good in class or be good in coaching when I'm not getting auditions, or I can't even, like, no one's taking meetings. And he's got some bigger clients, and he's like, it's just part of the journey. And he linked me up with one of his other clients who I had never met, Brandon, who I ended up co-writing Killer Date with, because we were both in the same boat. And he's like, you guys need to create something, create your own opportunity, write something. I'm like, but I'm not a writer. And he's like, you're not a writer until you write something. So we got together, we really hit it off. We brainstormed, and then we just came up with this fun idea, and we both agreed that we're not going to put our name on something that is going to be half-assed. So we got our little friend, we got our friends together, and we called in a bunch of favors, and we raised money. And I hate asking people for money, and but yeah, we wrote it, produced it, we got a director, and we shot it in 3 days, and then it did a festival run, and we got nominated and won some awards, and it was really good. And that ended up opening some doors for me and helping pitch. And yeah, it was really good. I look at it now, I'm like, I do so many things different. But it was such a learning experience, and I'm so grateful that I was able to make it.
2019 Diamond Award Best Actor at the LA Shorts Awards.
Yes.
Being recognized, winning an award, receiving an award, in my opinion, I'm like, hell yeah. I mean, some people are like, awards don't mean anything. And I'm like, not in my book, girl. Getting that award for Best Actor, what does that mean to you?
Well, it was very validating, especially for a character that I wrote and I created and I developed myself. And it was really cool. And diamond means, of what they give out, there is bronze, silver, gold, and diamond.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, I was all the way up there. So that was like, I was like, wait a minute, the competition must not have been that hard, but I don't care. Winning is winning, and I won. And I felt really good about that, because it was a project that we literally brainstormed ideas on index cards on my living room floor. And it was like, okay, so how can we make this into a story? And then going into winning awards. So it was really cool.
Well said. Here's my last question for for you all, and it's the same question, and it's simply this: what do you hope audiences come away with once they've seen Sugar Highs? And Sam, I'll start with yourself. What do you hope audiences come away with after seeing Sugar Highs, Sam?
Well, I definitely hope they laugh. It is, at the end of the day, a comedy show. But I also hope they maybe warm up to certain things. It is a show that explores the idea that there's no sexual binaries, and it's a show that explores like something that I personally haven't seen on TV before. But yeah, I think, but also at the end of the day, it's just a fun show. It's a funny show.
And Adam, for yourself, what do you hope audiences come away with after they've experienced the high of Sugar Highs?
Yeah, I think similarly to Sam, I do hope they laugh. I mean, we had a lot of fun making it, so we hope people have fun watching it. And yeah, I think that also, like Sam said, what you're seeing on Sugar Highs, it's been kind of addressed in pop culture and in media a little bit, but generally in a lot more of a darker tone, usually anything to do with like sugar babying, escort work, that's like some kind of scary situation where someone dies. Whereas in this show, we are kind of more in the power position sometimes. And nobody dies without giving too much away. Oh, anyway, never mind. Yeah, I think that you see a lot of different types of relationships across the board, which I think is interesting. I hope people warm up to that. I know that for me, originally I thought with season 1 that most of the people that would watch it would be in the LGBTQ community, which they definitely did. And I know that from traveling that a lot of people have seen it. But a lot of straight people I know watched it as well and really enjoyed it. And I think, like kind of like what both Joey and Sam said about just the universal element of the show, a lot of it is about connection. A lot of it is about loneliness and looking for companionship. And yeah, just different types of relationships. But at the end of the day, all relationships are relationships.
And Joey, for yourself, what do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen Sugar Highs?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both what the other guys said. I hope people laugh, and I hope people enjoy it enough to where they're like, hey, that was a fun show. And then, when they go out to lunch with their friends, like, have you guys seen that show Sugar Highs? I just watched it. It's really funny. And yeah, like what Adam said, by showing a different part of sugar babies, sugar daddies, or any sort of stuff like that, I think it's almost as if, yeah, that's what it's like in, TV and film. But if just you as a regular everyday person tried to do it, this is probably how it would go for you. Probably wouldn't be too smooth. So, yeah, but yeah, I think we all as actors, we just want to make people laugh, and we want people to enjoy our work and enjoy our little show because we're like a family that made it. And so, yeah, I just hope people enjoy it and tell their friends.
Out of curiosity, this is season 2 that's coming out now.
Yes.
Over the last little while, and this again for all of you, any weird interactions with people coming up to you because this is about sugar babying or anything of the sort? Like, have you guys had any like weird proposals or anything like that, Joey?
Well, so my character is clean shaven and has blonde hair, and when I'm not filming Sugar Highs, I have dark brown hair and a beard. So no one's recognized me. And I live in LA, and it's, unless you know about it in the States, it's online, but it's more of a Canadian show. So I think maybe the other guys may get recognized more. But I have had, when season 1 came out, I definitely had some DMs with unsolicited pictures that were like, thank you very much. Flattered. But yeah, that was interesting. But no one has recognized me.
What about yourself, Sam? Any indecent proposals?
No, like in Halifax, I don't really get recognized. The 2 times it's happened, it's been very normal and brief. But just like Joey, I have also gotten some strange DMs. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing too out of the ordinary.
Are you techie at all?
No.
Because your character is a bit of a tech appy kind of person.
I think I have like a good knowledge towards it, but I also kind of fear it in a way. I won't get into that, but yeah, I am reluctant using technology. I'm also, I wouldn't call myself a techie person.
And Adam, for yourself, any indecent proposals?
I've traveled a lot in the last while, so I actually have been recognized a decent amount, and in different places. Like I was in Mexico, and somebody was like, "Oh," while I was waiting in line for the bathroom, like, "Oh, you look like an actor on a show I watch." I was like, "Oh, what show?" And it was this one. And I was in London and met a bunch of people that had watched it because it's available in a lot of different countries. And then a little bit in Vancouver, but I feel like I know everybody in Vancouver, so they would just say I watched it. Joey and I got recognized in Montreal when we were doing a press thing there. So yeah, kind of a bunch of times. And then I would say that indecent proposals come on like dating apps of people saying things as if you are. I think a lot of times people don't know to distinguish that this is a fictional show. And I feel like I have to remind them, like, it's a fictional show, that's a character, because they'll say things like, "Oh, want to practice in real life or want to practice with a real daddy?" And I'm just like, it's a TV show. Calm down.
At least they remember the dialogue. That's good.
And that's true. Yeah. I appreciated it regardless of if I wanted it or not.
Adam, do you have a dance background?
I love dancing. And I've danced since I was like a child, just in my living room. And then in recent years, it's come up with acting, like, can you dance? So I'm not to sound arrogant. I think I have a good natural ability, but I'm not like a traditionally trained dancer. So
because you dance in the show.
Yes. So what I did before, I needed a bit more, like I on my own decided to like book a one-on-one with the choreographer who also acts in it, named Anthony. Just because like some of it, I think not having that same experience as some of the other dancers, I can do it. It's just a slower learning curve. So I just have to work a little bit more. But I love dancing. And since the show, I've been taking weekly dance classes and trying to get a lot better. And I love it. I love moving my body that way.
Well said. Again, to all of you, Joey Benny, Adam Fox, Sam Davison, thank you all for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Season 2 of Sugar Highs is out now on OUTtv. For more information, simply visit OUTtvgo.com.
I was just drifting off to sleep when one of my roommates knocked on the door and said, "Gerald Hannon from The Body Politic is on the phone, wants to talk to you." And I said, "Well, I'm half asleep. Like, I'll talk to him tomorrow, right? There's no, what can be the rush?" And he said, "No," he said, "it's an emergency. He's got to talk to you right now." And so I was grumpy, dragged myself out of bed, went down to the phone, and Gerald said, "They're raiding all the baths. You're closest to the Club Toronto. Get over there and find out what's going on and talk to people." And so I'm not a very happy camper, but, you know, it sounded like this was important. And so pulled on some clothes. It's February. It's like cold, windy February night, and, you know, cross Allen Gardens over to where the club baths are at Mutual and Carlton. And I remember like turning the corner to the club baths, and the place was full of cops, right? And the image that came to my mind was like one of those nature programs where the Pride of Lions has just, you know, made its big kill, and they're all sitting around looking very satisfied with themselves, right? So they didn't pay any attention to me at all, right? Paddy wagons were there, and they were letting some people out on their own reconnaissance. You know, they'd given them pieces of paper to appear in court on such and such a date. And so I started trying to interview people. And I think one of the first people that came out was this middle-aged guy, an ordinary working class Portuguese guy. And so I said, what's going on in there? And he said, I don't understand it at all, right? This is a cheap place I can spend the night. It's like much cheaper than a hotel. And all of a sudden I was in my room and, these policemen like kicked down the door and they dragged me out, and now I have to appear in court. And then he kind of looked at me and said like, oh, like, who the hell are you? Right? Why am I telling you all this stuff? Right? And I said, I'm from the Body Politic, the gay paper. And he said, you're gay? And I said, yeah. And he said, he changed. He said, like, why are they doing this to us? We've been going to these places for years. They've got no right to do this stuff, right? And then he said, and what is this paper that they've given me mean? I have to go to court. Is my name going to appear in the papers?
Phone rings. I got a message from the mayor. He's going to call me back the next day. I get the call, and he said, if you'd accept, we'd like to honor you with the key to the city. There was an event later that year in May. Just a key, right? Like, key to what? A decent job, a good singing career. It's really a metaphor, but it's history. So a reporter wants to talk to me and says, so it's a key, right? Like, what's the big deal? He says, well, not everybody gets the key. So I looked it up, and I guess it is kind of a big deal.
The date, May 17th, 2018, when trans activist Susan Gapka made history by becoming the first trans woman to be presented with the key to the city of Toronto. By the way, past recipients include Rush and the Raptors. And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, simply head over to marktara.com, where everything is connected, and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, I'm Agnes. My new record, Magic Still Exists, is out now. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.